And welcome to the Breakfast Club on Asake Online. My name is Lesley Moyo. In today's program, we are joined by Mr. Larry Socha, who is the Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Harare. Welcome to the program.
Lesley, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
And welcome to Bulawayo. And how are you enjoying the city so far?
It's been excellent, Lesley. I came down a couple of days ago with my family. We spent some time in the national park south of town here and enjoyed the beautiful vistas and the fascinating scenery and beautiful wildlife unique here to Bulawayo. And then last night I came back into town, spent the night to begin my work here in the next couple of days. As a U.S. diplomat serving in Zimbabwe, it's important to get outside of the capital city. Well, I often tell the exchange program participants that go to the United States that the United States is more than Washington, D.C. or more than New York City. You need to get outside of those urban areas on the East Coast to explore more of the country, and that's what I hope to do here in Bulawayo over the next couple of days.
And what has been your impression of the Zimbabwean culture and its people?
It's an incredibly rich culture, tremendous human talent. It's incomparable on the continent. I've served in 2 other African countries, Nigeria for 3 years and Somalia most recently, and Zimbabwe is unique among all the countries on this continent. I feel privileged to be here with my family and to carry on the work of the United States.
And the transition from Somalia to Zimbabwe, how has it been for you? Do you feel like you're jumping from the pot to the fire?
Every country has its opportunities and its challenges. Obviously, Somalia is unique given the security situation there. It's honestly a pleasure to be here in Zimbabwe where my family can join me. It's seen, I think, as one of the preeminent places to be on the continent because there's so much happening here. There's so much potential. The cultural richness of this place is unparalleled. And so it's been an opportunity in my short 2 months here to enjoy just the beginnings of many of those things, but hopefully over the next several years to build partnerships in business, in government, in civil society, so that our 2 countries, Zimbabwe and the United States, can come closer together.
So, as someone who's in charge of public diplomacy for the American government here, maybe just tell us in brief what that job entails.
So, public diplomacy is really the public-facing side of the embassy. It is an opportunity for us to engage through culture, through media, through civil society with all of Zimbabwe. We run over 20 different exchange programs. Some of them are perhaps famous, like the Fulbright program that carries a lot of name recognition, to more recent programs like the Mandela Washington Fellowship, which is born out of the Young African Leaders Initiative. We've recently started a program as well in the past several years called the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs to support women, both women who have an idea of their business and women who are already on the ground and put their business into motion. And so what we look to do in public diplomacy is to find our common goals as Zimbabweans and Americans and move forward together in those directions so that we can all prosper from that relationship.
Yeah, the relationship between the 2 countries has been going on for decades, and the American government has, even the business people from America have invested a lot in Zimbabwe. Maybe tell us more about those U.S. investments in Zimbabwe.
I mean, since independence in 1980, the United States has contributed billions of dollars to Zimbabwe. In the last year alone, the United States has contributed over $1 billion through humanitarian, health, and development partnerships here in country. We're very proud of that. We're proud of our relationship with Zimbabwe. I have a fantastic job in the embassy. I mean, every year, the U.S. Embassy sends over 100 Zimbabweans on exchange programs to the United States. Here in Bulawayo, I met with some of the alumni of those programs, individuals who are medical doctors, individuals who are still students studying environmental studies or international relations. Fantastic representatives of this country who have gone to the United States, gained new perspectives, shared their own Zimbabwean identity with Americans, and now returned home to continue to build a relationship between us. But I think for us, the United States is proud of the relationship of where we've been and where we're going. The fact is, through our health programs at the embassy, for example, the United States has contributed every year about $88 million to the health infrastructure here. The fact that we're paying salaries of healthcare workers, over 21,000 healthcare workers derive their salaries from U.S. government support. These are nurses, lab techs, community health workers who, without the United States, would go unpaid. And I think that's a real concrete example of our partnership and how we want to see a healthier, more prosperous Zimbabwe.
Then speaking of these exchanges and education programs, how have they strengthened the relations between the two countries? Obviously, recently you had the alumni summit in Harare. Maybe you'll speak more about that one. And then recently there was a statement where you were highlighting how the number of Zimbabwean students who are studying in American university has increased. And how do these exchanges really strengthen relations between the two countries?
Well, it's a process, right? And so I think you're right to point out that there are certain times of the year or certain themes that we can celebrate intermittently that long, strong relationship between our two countries. Last week was International Education Week. And so we celebrate the fact that 1,789 Zimbabweans on record study in the United States. There's probably many more than that because we don't have all of the numbers. But it's an example of the close ties between our two countries. Last week in Harare, I guess 2 weeks ago now, we had over 300 alumni of our exchange programs participate in that alumni summit. I mean, we're talking about individuals who have gone to the United States, done research, and contributed to the development of a COVID vaccine to overcome that challenge over the last couple years and continue to fight it. We have young people who participate in our Mandela Washington Fellowship who come back home here to Zimbabwe and continue to lead successful businesses that benefit positively their communications in Bulawayo, Harare, and other cities across this country. So I really see exchange programs as an investment in people, an investment in the future of Zimbabwe. And while maybe the return on that investment is not immediately available in those first days or first weeks after the return of an exchange participant, it is clear in those months and those years afterwards that it is the right thing to do because of the talent of the people here and the opportunities that the United States seeks to give them.
Yes, most of them end up, taking up spaces in, leadership roles in various spaces in the country. And but how can they be encouraged to be more active in some of the developmental processes that the country is going through?
I think that's the challenge, and I think that's the reason for our summit earlier this month. It's really to serve as a catalyst for networks. I'm increasingly convinced that no one person is going to change the world. It's going to be groups of people, and that's why leadership is so important. It's the leadership that's required to move a group of people from somewhere where they're comfortable into an area where they're not comfortable, but where they need to perform for the betterment of their whole community, or in this case, their whole country. And so those leadership skills are really important. It's built into almost every exchange program that we have, whether it's the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, where they're building their business plans, they're learning how to communicate, they're learning how to be leaders. To our Young African Leaders Initiative, Mandela Washington Fellows. I mean, the leadership curriculum is part of that journey as well for those several weeks in the United States. Leadership's really important, and leadership is accomplished by building those networks. From my experience here in Zimbabwe, very social people. I've said the sense of humor in Zimbabwe is unparalleled. It's one thing I really enjoy here. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a bit dark in terms of the humor, but I find that Zimbabweans are wonderful communicators, and communicating and building those networks is really how you're going to affect change.
Yeah, in Bulawayo, a creative hub of Zimbabwe. I'm sure maybe you would witness that, as you continue to visit the city. But then speaking of these exchanges, obviously the creative industry would also want to benefit from that. And what are some of the opportunities that maybe these exchanges can offer them, especially those who are artists or who are in the creative space?
No, it's a really good question. And you mentioned Bulawayo as a creative hub, but I understand, and I'm not a historian of this area specifically, but I understand that Bulawayo once was an industrial hub as well. And I think that's a focus of the United States too, is where can we work together so that our trade relationship, our commercial relationships benefit too. I think that's has a lot to do with our investment in the creative industry. Creative industry is all about being creative, about having your voice heard, about contributing something new to the environment. But the creative industry is also about making money and about being disciplined and understanding how you can put processes in place that will allow you to continue to do your work because you're financially solvent, right? So what we want to do at the embassy is to have workshops, to have symposia to bring individuals together to learn more about how they can be creative, but about how they can make money too and continue to do their craft and to understand the business of creativity. I think that's really important. Because the more links that we can create between the United States and Zimbabwe in the creative space, the better. Really excited that just last month, the president inaugurated the new President's Advisory Council for African diaspora engagement in the United States. How can we link the diaspora, the Zimbabweans in the United States, back to their homeland? Whether it's through music, whether it's through the visual arts, whatever that medium might be, really important. Those are the relationships that I hope to explore in my years here as a diplomat.
And obviously, as a media practitioner, I would have done injustice if I do not speak about the media and landscape in Zimbabwe and how the U.S. Embassy or the American government is actually assisting local media practitioners. Maybe speak to us about that in terms of we're looking at skills training, media independence, as well as the freedom of the media. Why are these values critical for a democracy?
I think it's critical for several reasons. First, let me say that President Biden wants to strengthen relationships with African countries, including Zimbabwe. But we can only do that if Zimbabwe has a more open and a more democratic governance structure. What we saw in August of this year with the elections, as was reported regionally and internationally, those elections did not live up to the democratic standards that we would have expected for a wonderful country like Zimbabwe. What we hope happens in the future with the support of the media is that we can see an opening up, a liberalization, so that more voices are heard, which is crucial to a democracy. Media play that role. They're a facilitator in helping individual citizens have their voices heard. Maybe it's a problem in the community that's not getting the attention, that needs the attention of the local or the national government. It's the media that's going to connect that voice with the decision makers. And it's important too that the media is protected, that there are constitutional provisions, there are laws that protect the media, and that rule of law needs to be respected. And that is the role of the U.S. Embassy here, is to continue to support Zimbabwe, continue to support its constitution, and hopefully have a vibrant media that supports a strong democracy here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for taking time to come and engage with us, as well as just talk about some of the work that you do at the U.S. Embassy in Harare.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. I hope to come back many, many times to Bulawayo. I think there's a lot of work we can do together and celebrate the relationship that we share.
I'm sure you've tried the local cuisine. Maybe they will take you around and eat some of the food.
I've heard there's a couple restaurants I need to hit up. I've hit up a couple local businesses that I think have links to that Academy for Women Entrepreneurs program and other exchanges that we've had. So there's plenty to see and explore, and I look forward to bringing friends on my return journeys.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Breakfast Club on Asake Online. My name is Lesley Moyo. Our guest today was Mr. Larry Socha, who is the Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Harare. He was speaking to us about relations between the two countries, some of the exchange programs or activities that are done in terms of linking the two countries. Quite an interesting conversation that we've had. Hopefully, we'll have more in the near future when he comes back to visit the City of Kings in Bulawayo.